Olá, queridos, canal Apocalipse Final dos Tempos, 18 de fevereiro de 2021. Amados, eu encontrei aqui um sonho bem interessante, um sonho de alerta, sonho de arrebatamento. Jesus está vindo. Esse canal aqui, Jesus Cristo está vindo. E como o sonho é um pouco extenso, eu vou reduzir passando para os irmãos o que aconteceu até agora, porque agora começa a parte assim mais interessante. Então ela está no portão da escola, já recebeu um dos filhos, o outro ainda está para sair. Ela está junto com a irmã também está recebendo os filhos que está saindo da escola. Tem outros pais ali junto, todo mundo aguardando os filhos saírem da escola. E de uma hora para outra ela é atraída a olhar para o céu. E aí começa a visão. Então eu já vou apresentar do momento da visão em diante e no final eu paro para comentar com os irmãos, ok?
Looking up, and right when I got to a certain point, the windows of heaven were open. It was as if the Lord had placed a tunnel from heaven all the way to earth, and I could see from where I was standing all the way up to heaven. If I get emotional, just bear with me. I could see all the way up to heaven, and it was clear as day. It was clearer than my hand in front of my face. I could see the Lord sitting on a white horse, and he had long dark hair. He was olive colored complexion. He was draped he had on a white robe. He had a red sash going around from his right shoulder, draping down to his left side. And like I said, it was red, and he had a crown on his head. And he was sitting on this horse, and he was riding the horse back and forth, and I could never see his full face to face, but I could see the side of his face, and I could, for some reason, I knew he had a stern emotion. He had a stern face. And he never turned to look at me. But he was just sitting there. He was waiting, and every now and then he would just ride, forward, and then come back. And all around him were angels with wings. They were just flying, and it was as if I had a telescope and I could just see everything beautifully clear. I mean, it was bright lights. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I could hear the angels. Now, mind you, I'm standing on the ground. I mean, I know God had to have given me spiritual sight and hearing, because it was so far away. But I could hear the angels saying, get ready, it's almost time. Are you guys ready? Let's get ready, it's almost time. And something stirred on the inside of me, and I knew immediately that it was almost time for the rapture. I knew immediately. And like I said, these angels were just flying. I mean, flying and it was hundreds of them, thousands maybe. I can't number them, but for some reason I knew it was as if I had knowing of what was going on. I knew the number of angels. It's just weird that I knew that, So when I saw that, I booked it back to where my sister was and my children. And I'm yelling at my sister, and I was like, D, like, we gotta get ready. I was like, Jesus is coming. And I'm yelling it to the top of my lungs. I didn't care who was there. I was like, Jesus is coming. He is coming. We have to go. We have to get ready. And I was like, we have to tell everybody. We have to tell everybody. And I was meaning, when I was saying that, I was meaning all of our family members. So I was like, we have to tell them now. And so my sister, she started saying, I have to go get the baby. I have to go get the baby. And so I was like, don't worry about the baby. Like, the baby is going to be fine. The baby is going to be caught up. We don't need to go and get the baby. I wasn't even worried about my kids. And anybody who knows me, I'm a mom first. Right under being saved, I am a mother. Like, that takes precedence over everything in my life. And I wasn't worried about my kids. I was not worried about them because I knew that my kids were saved. I was on a mission. And as me and my sister, as I'm pleading with her, like, listen, we have to go tell our family that Jesus is coming, my brother popped up in my head. Now, 2 years ago, right before the storm, my oldest brother passed away, so I only have one brother left. And so, immediately I had this strong urgency that I needed to get to my brother, and I needed to tell him that Jesus was coming because of what God had just shown me. Like, I physically saw Jesus and these angels waiting, and I knew that Jesus was just waiting on the word from, the word from the Father, and I knew he was coming. And I knew that it was right there. Like, he literally stands at the door. And it was literally right then in that second I knew. So I told my sister, I was like, listen, don't worry about the baby. Just go tell everybody else. And when I say everybody else, meaning those who weren't ready. Anybody who didn't know that Jesus was coming, anybody who didn't believe in Jesus, like, go tell them, I'll get the baby. And she was like, okay. So she left. I left my kids at this school because at that moment, all I could think about was my brother. And I was like, I have to get to my brother. I have to let him know that Jesus is coming. So I jumped in this car. I kept trying to call him, and my phone was not working. For some strange reason, I could not reach him on my cell phone. So I jumped in the car, and I was actually going to go get the baby. I don't know what baby, but I was going to go get the baby. But when I got in the car, all of that left me, and I was like, I have to get to my brother. And so I'm trying to call him, and he's not answering. And so at some point, the sky turned black. It was just dark. Because while we were at the school, of course, it was daytime. School was getting out. And now that I'm headed to go find my brother, it's pitch dark. And I keep calling, and finally, I reach him. And I'm speeding. I know I'm doing over 100 miles per hour. I'm speeding, trying to find him. The only light that I could see were my headlights. There was no moon in the sky. There were no stars in the sky. The only light that I could see was the light from, the road in front of me. But it was so dark that, like, you couldn't see anything beyond that light, So, as my brother answered the phone, he was like, hey, my brother calls me E, it's the weirdest thing, but he was like, hey, E, what's going on? And he's talking and he's laughing, and Before I could answer, before I could even say, hey, I started seeing what I thought were shooting stars. And they weren't going from the sky down, they were going from the ground to the sky. Beautiful. It was so beautiful that it completely took my attention away from the phone. And so I kind of leaned to look out my window to see what was going on. I mean, I was in such amazement. And before I could say anything, I shot up. I could look down. I saw in my physical body the phone fell to the floor of the vehicle, and my spirit was going. I shot up, and I mean, I was traveling at a speed that I can't even imagine. I knew within my subconscious that it was faster than light, that it was faster than sound. I was going, but I could still, for a split second, see, you know, feel everything that was going on physically. And I could still hear my brother, talking. And for a split second, I got so sad because I knew my brother didn't make it. Like, I knew he had been left behind. And bear with me, because this part gets to me. It really, really gets to me. But I knew he hadn't made it, and he was still laughing and talking, and I knew that he didn't even know that I was no longer there. I literally watched, like, my body go limp. My physical body. This is just the shell. This is it. Either you're gonna die or you're gonna be raptured up. But this physical body is just a shell. It completely went limp, and there was bright white, like piercing white light that was shining through the sockets of my eyes, but my eyes were no longer, like, you couldn't even see the eyes, the pupils or anything. It was just piercing white light that was shining through my eyes. And within that split second, all emotion that I felt for my brother left me. It left me. I felt no sorrow, no pain, nothing. And it was as if I could see, like, the transitioning of my spirit. I could see, like, my hands shaking and everything. It was just the weirdest thing. And then I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a false awakening in a dream. I woke up out of that, but I was still physically asleep. And so I'm still in the dream, and so I called my brother, and I was like, well, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, nothing, I'm just watching TV, what's going on? How you doing? So I was like, listen, cut to the chase. I was like, you have to get to my house now. And he was like, what's going on? He was like, you scaring me, what's going on? And I was like, I have to tell you what God has shown me. Like, you have to get here now. And so he hightailed it to my house. And when he got to my house, me and my youngest daughter, we were in our living room, and I was putting away groceries, and he came in, and I told him, I said, listen, I would never tell you anything false. That I would never lead you astray. And I was like, do you know me to be a woman of God? And he was like, yeah, just spit it out. You're scaring me. So I told him what happened in the dream, which it physically did happen, in real life. I was dreaming that. And so I started telling him, and he just began to bawl. He was just crying. And then I woke up.
Então, queridos, ficou bem comprido esse sonho, né? 15 minutos agora. Mas deixa eu falar rapidamente, fazer um resumo, né? Então, quando ela começa a falar, já está na visão. E ela apresenta vários detalhes da visão de Jesus no cavalo e os anjos, inclusive que os anjos falam: prepare-se, o arrebatamento está quase acontecendo. Depois dali, ela sente que precisa avisar isso para os familiares. E aí ela pega um carro e vai até onde está o irmão. Mas no meio da situação, acontece o arrebatamento e ela sobe. Mas de uma hora para outra é como se ela voltasse de novo, né? Não ficou assim muito claro, é coisa de sonho mesmo. Ela sobe no arrebatamento, ela fala até detalhes do que ela está sentindo, mas depois é como se ela tivesse de novo dentro do corpo, né? Então ela volta para o corpo. E aí ela está falando pelo telefone com o irmão. Ela diz que precisa falar com ele, que é para ele ir visitá-la, e o irmão vai visitá-la e ela conta tudo para ele. E ele começa a chorar, né? Então aqui está até dizendo, né, que ele estava chorando. E então acordei. Inúmeros sonhos, né? E nesse caso, que bom que ela teve a oportunidade de poder falar com o irmão dela de fato, né? Porque eu creio que depois desse sonho, ela foi de fato procurar por ele para falar tudo aquilo que ela vivenciou em sonho. Um sonho imenso, né? Bem comprido, com bastante detalhes. Maranata, o Espírito e a noiva dizem: vem! Muito obrigada por você ter vindo até aqui. Deixe o seu like, se inscreva no canal e até o próximo vídeo. Que Deus nos abençoe.